Hi guys, I decided that I was going to make a video about university stuff and advice on university stuff and my experience with like going to university and stuff. And actually it was somebody suggested that I film this video. Got a message from somebody today that said she was going to university starting I think around the 3rd week of September, and she just wanted some advice on studying, friends, just general stuff that I would want to tell people about university, and just general like tips about university and what you should look out for and my experiences with university. Basically, start by saying university is honestly like the best time of your entire life. But you do have to be really streetwise, you do have to be really careful. Don't trust anyone too easily, because remember, you don't know these people. And if you're like me and was living out of home and living in a different city that you don't know, like you have to be really, really careful about everything. Just generally like safety stuff, and you just have to make kind of like genuine friends and stuff like that. I have to say, I do have like a couple of university like regrets, and I think one of the biggest university regrets I had was I don't think I was maybe as sociable as I wanted to be. Kind of came back from university, and I have to say my 3rd year was like the best year of my entire life in the whole world, because by the time I got to my 3rd year I had a really, really, really close group of friends, and it took me 2 years to find those friends. So when I moved into my accommodation in my 1st year, I was living in a tower block and I had to share a floor with 18 girls, and there were 2 showers and 3 toilets and 18 girls, and I was like, oh my god, this is disgusting. So you can imagine that like every night you go for a shower and the shower is just covered in like hair and stuff, and it's just a bit disgusting. And the thing is, like, obviously when you get like the accommodation information, I was quite lucky that I got a place on campus. So I wanted to live on campus 1st year because I thought that's going to be the best opportunity to meet people and get to know people and just like make as many friends as I possibly can. What I noticed in the 1st year about making friends is everybody knew everybody. Like, because I went to Aston in Birmingham, the campus was quite small, there's probably about 2,000 people, and that's quite small for a university campus. There was like 2,000 students, but like by the, you know, when everyone goes to like Freshers Week and they go to the student union and you get to know people really, really, really quickly. And obviously as a 1st year student, you're out straight away, like you're out clubbing, you're out in bars, like you're going out straight away because you want to make effort with people. And if you get invited to, you know, go out with some girls, you don't really know them, you're going to go because you want to make friends. So I say in the 1st year, like you have to get out there, like you have to go and make friends, because you just don't want to be that girl that's got no friends at the end of university, because that's no one wants to be that girl. But what I found was, like, there were some girls that like knew everybody. By the end of university they didn't really have any friends because they just spread themselves so thin and tried to make friends with every single person. Whereas at university, like the 1st year, I was a little bit aware because I was like, oh my god, there's so many Asians. So I went to university, and I have an issue trusting anyone anyway. But I have to say, by the time I finished university, like I made some of the bestest friends of my entire life, and people that I would do absolutely anything for even now. If I'd been one of those girls that was like, oh, I'm going to make friends with as many people as I can, then I probably wouldn't have met the people that I met. I mean, I was kind of lucky in the sense that the people I was friends with in the end, like they all did the same course as me, so we were kind of through our education together as well. Really, really lucky to just make some really good friends. Yeah, there are some like issues I had living with 18 girls, because the 2 flats were like divided, and you could go to the other flat. There was like 2 flats. One had 9 rooms and the other side had 9 rooms, and you could go between the 2 flats like through the bathroom. They kind of put you in like a floor of all boys or a floor of all girls. I kind of preferred it that way in my 1st year, because obviously you don't really want to be living in a flat with boys that you don't know when you're going to the bathroom and stuff. I made friends with the girl that was living next door to me, and the girl on the other side of me was doing the same course. So even though the girl I was with throughout university, like she wasn't doing the same course as me, but it was kind of nice not to have the same conversation about eyes the whole time. I had issues with people eating my food. So my mum and dad would like come and visit me, and they'd bring up like loads and loads of food. Literally, like I wouldn't eat much of it because the girls would come in from a night out, they'd be drunk, and they'd literally just like raid the fridge and just eat anything they wanted. So I had like serious issues with girls like eating my stuff and drinking like my orange juice and drinking my milk, and there was like lots of orange juice cartons that were emptied of mine. So my dad was like, I want you to put laxative in your orange juice and don't drink it. And so he bought it with him because I was telling him the issues I was having with the girls, and he put a laxative in like one of my orange juice cartons. And that night somebody drank the whole thing, and I know exactly who it was because she was on the toilet the next day. It was just really funny because it was like my dad's suggestion. So I had issues with like girls eating my stuff, and I was like, oh, this is a bit weird. And then I had issues with like girls ringing random guys back to the flat like all the time, and I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I really don't need to hear you having sex. And so I had issues with stuff like that, living with girls. They were really loud. But I just thought, you know what, that's just living with girls. So really, really early on in my first year, I had to decide who I wanted to live with in the second year. And when I went to my second year, it was private accommodation for students, and I got to live in a flat of 5. So really, really early on, I picked to live with 5 girls. One was the girl that I was living with like in the first year. So we were like 5 of us living in the flat. But remember, I'd only known these girls 3 months before I decided that I was going to live with them the entire second year. And that was probably, I would say, probably the worst thing that I ever did was like live with those girls. I really hope they don't watch this video. But these girls were like so bitchy. They were always talking about each other. There was always issues about, oh, who's used up the last tea bag and who hasn't put the bins out this week. And it got really, really, really bitchy. So halfway through my second year, I used to like come into the kitchen and stuff, and I could sense that they'd just been talking about me. And then this other thing happened with the girl that was living next door to me. She was another girl that was doing like the optometry course, and she said to me one day, like, do you get the feeling that they're just talking about us? You know, do you get the feeling that when you walk into a room they're talking about us? And I said, well, do you know what? We have these vents in our rooms, these little vents that, and I said, I can hear them talking about me sometimes, and I said, no offense, but I can hear them talking about you. I said, they talk about each other all the time. Like, if one of them's not there, they're talking, everyone else is talking about that one person. And I was just like, my God, these girls are so bitchy. Like, it's unbelievable how bitchy these girls are. So when I was in my first year, deciding who I was going to live with in my second year, I had these 4 guys on my course that I was really, really good friends with. And I was one of these, I don't want to live with boys. So I was like, okay, I'm going to live with these girls instead. And that was like the worst regret of my life. And then these boys came back to me and went, told you so, you should have just lived with us. And I was like, God, I really should have just lived with you. And then I thought my parents would have an issue about me living with like 4 boys. And then what happened was, I gradually, in the middle of my second year, I didn't fall out with these girls. I didn't have a fight with them, but I just didn't want to be around them because I felt so uncomfortable. I made friends with one of their friends that kept coming around to the flat all the time. And he was really blunt, and he just goes, I just don't know why they don't like you, but they don't. And I was just like, but he goes, it's not just you, they don't like each other, but you're all living here like under the same roof and they just don't like each other. And I was like, this is ridiculous. So what I found myself doing was like spending an awful lot of time at the boys' flat, who were like my friends on my course, and they were like my really, really good friends. And again, the only issue I had living with them was because they were boys and I didn't want to be the only girl in this flat. Really regretted it because I totally should have lived with them, knowing that they were like the closest people I had at university. And actually living with boys was really not a bad thing because they would have not been like all bitchy and stuff. And so I lived with these girls, and gradually over that year, over my second year, I moved my stuff gradually into the boys' flat, and they lived in, I think they lived downstairs or something. So gradually, bit by bit, I was taking my pots and pans and everything downstairs into theirs. I'd spend the whole day and evening in the boys' flat, like in their living room and stuff, and then I would go back to my flat just to go to sleep. It got to the point where the boys were not happy with the way that the girls were treating me. I say treating me, but like just treating each other, because I definitely hadn't done anything wrong. And I thought it was, they didn't like the fact that I had other friends and it wasn't just revolving around them. So we used to go out as a flat of like girls, and then if the boys were out, obviously I'd go and say hi to them, and usually they'd end up taking me away because I always had more fun with the boys. And then the girls were a bit like, oh, what's the point of bringing her out? She just keeps going off with her mates. And I was like, well, I have an obligation to make effort with the girls if they invite me out. But then I also have an obligation to have fun. So I was like, this is kind of ridiculous. So in the third year, I was like, I'm definitely living with the boys. Like, I don't care what my parents say. And by this time, I'd been at university for a year and a half. My mum and dad had already met the boys because obviously they'd come up and seen me and stuff. And my mum and dad had no issues with me living with the boys. They were all Indian. They were all doing the optometry degree, and they were all like really, really close to me. So I lived with the boys, and oh my god, third year was like the best year of my entire life. I probably went out more in my third year than I went out in the first 2 years put together, because the first year I was like, I don't really know anyone, I'm having issues like trusting these random people, guys are just trying it on left, right and centre, and you're just like, are you trying to be my friend or are you trying to get into my pants? I had issues, like I kind of kept myself away from people in first year, and I was dating someone else that wasn't at my university in the first year, so I spent a lot of time at his university. He went to Manchester, so I spent a lot of time at his university. When he came down for the weekends, like I'd spend a lot of time with him. So the first year I wasn't really, like I said, that's my biggest regret. The first year I wasn't as sociable as I wanted to be. So when it came to the second year, I was like living with these people that I didn't really want to live with. And the third year was like the best year of my entire life. And I was so happy. And I just wish every year had been like my third year. So my advice is to go out there in your first year and just get to know people, spend time with people, make effort with people. If people invite you out, just go. And if you don't like people, it's fine. You can gradually find someone else that you've got something in common with, and then just kind of like make friends until you find the people that you are comfortable with. And like I said, it was only my own stupid ego, because I didn't want to live with boys, that stopped me having the best second year of my life. But the third year kind of made up for it, because it was just amazing and I've never laughed so hard in my life. And so it was like my living arrangements and stuff. And like I said, there are lots of boys at university. So if you are in a relationship with somebody that doesn't go to your university, it makes relationships very, very hard. And I'm not saying this to be negative, but I was dating somebody for almost a year before I went to university. And I was in Birmingham and he was in Manchester. So we were like good a couple of hours apart, and it just didn't work. I was doing optometry and he was doing dentistry, and as I got to, like, first year was fine, we saw each other like every couple of weeks. Second year, obviously he had more work to do, I had more work to do, and third year, by the third year we'd broken up anyway. So I was like, okay, well, he used to have jealousy issues about guys and I used to have jealousy issues about girls, and this was like the guy that told me that my friend was better looking, and so I had issues there anyway. And I was like, do you know what, just leave me, like, just leave me to it. And there was this girl at university that blatantly fancied him. All these issues. So I'm not really one of these long distancey kind of relationship type people. I need to see my boyfriend quite regularly to feel like comfortable and secure. He was probably the wrong person to be dating at university. So that's another regret I have, actually, is like maybe not dating someone at university, because I feel like I would have made a lot more friends if I was single. And I was like, and I, you know, there were some really, really lovely guys at university that asked me out and I had to turn them down. And then I look back on it afterwards and I was like, I should have dated him, like he was so nice. And, you know, I didn't give a chance to people that actually I really should have given chances to, because I was dating a moron. And didn't see it at all at the time though, so that was kind of a problem. The other thing is, like, with regards to like studying and exams and stuff like that, like I was the worst person when it came to like lectures and stuff. If it was a 9 o'clock lecture, you could pretty much be absolutely 100% sure that I didn't go. I'm not saying you should do that, but again, when I got to my third year, I was living with people that I trusted, so if they were going to get up to go to the lecture, I would just tell them to photocopy the notes and bring them back for me, and it was okay to do that. But with regards to lectures, you need to go over your notes the minute you get back from your lecture. It doesn't happen, we all say we're going to do this, it doesn't happen, and then you just end up cramming everything in. The best thing you can do for like revision purposes is revise with somebody, because in my final year there were a couple of exams I was like really struggling to understand, and I revised with one of my friends, and it was just so helpful because we were laughing, and I just remember everything that we studied because we were laughing so hard. So don't sit in your room and get stressed and revise. Like, try and revise with somebody, because honestly it makes the world of difference because you just remember everything. In terms of like money and stuff like that, I had a student loan, so every term I was getting £1,000 put into my account. My mum and dad were amazing, like they paid for my accommodation and they paid for my tuition fees, because they just said, you know what, you're going to university, just enjoy it, but study it and come back with a degree, like don't mess it up. So like I would spend money on, like, most of my money went on like my books at the beginning of the year, like books I needed, equipment I needed, and obviously like going out and taxis and food is probably what I spent most of my money on. I wouldn't even say the drinking, because it was like really cheap and I didn't really have that many crazy nights. It was just like, I think I was quite good at university, but my parents used to let me drink when I was like 16, so it wasn't really a crazy thing when I went to university. And there was a lot of girls that were completely out of control at university, and they clearly, their parents were too strict with them, because in the first year they were the girls that were always on the floor in the toilet or being touched up by a guy on the dance floor in front of everyone, and they just had no grace and no pride and know anything about them. And I was like, I'm so glad I'm not one of those girls, because it's just embarrassing. Yeah, don't get drunk every night, because that's what people say about university. In your first year you will do it, but remember, you're going to be with people that you don't really know that well, so it's okay to do that in their third year, because like I said, I think I went out more in my third year than any other year. Don't get pregnant. Like, make sure you're sensible about stuff, because there will be lots of boys. You are going to be attracted to somebody. You're probably going to date somebody. Don't get pregnant. Like, I'm telling you, if there's a boy and he's in your room and he's trying stuff, you think of my face and you think of Trisha60 saying, don't you dare get pregnant. I don't want any messages from girls going, I watched your video and now I'm pregnant, what do I do? Like, just don't get pregnant. That's just not sensible. Go and have fun, like, meet guys, have relationships, be safe, okay? Like, that is the biggest advice. That is like my university stories. I paid off my student loan within a year of like finishing university, because my student loan was about £9,000, which is obviously nothing compared to like what people have to pay back now. But in my head, I was going to pay it back like as soon as I finished university. This video is turning really long, so I'm just going to stop talking now. I'm happy to make another video about this if you guys want to know more stuff, but you have to get your questions in really quickly, because I know university starts in like a few weeks. So be safe, choose who you're living with really carefully, don't trust people too easily, budget your money, make sure you actually go to study, because you don't want to be paying like £27,000 when you're not studying, because that is just a total waste of your parents' money and your money and money that you're gonna have to pay back the more years you waste. This is my little video on like university, but honestly, from what I said at the beginning of the video, best time of your life. Like, if anyone said to me, if you could do like any year of your life again, what would you do? I would say third year of university, I would definitely do again. Best year of my entire life. Made the best friends I've ever met in my entire life. Love them more than anything. The thing is, I know you're going to be absolutely terrified. I forgot to make that point actually. I remember the first day I walked into my halls of residence, I was the first person in my halls. And I remember the corridor being really quiet, because you could either move in on the Friday, the Saturday, Sunday. And I said to my parents, I want to go on the Friday because I want to be there early. I want to meet people gradually, and it's always nice if like you're the first person there and then you just meet people like as they come in. And that's what happened over the weekend. I met this girl and we spent the whole of the first term together. And then, because obviously spend time with people at the beginning and then you realise like you've got slightly different interests and stuff, so she kind of went on and made her friends, and then I kind of went on and made my friends. But she was really lovely, and actually I won't ever forget her, because she was the first person I met at university. She's the first person I went out with. Just don't do what I do and come back and go, oh, like, there's a couple of little things I regret. I don't regret anything. Like, so don't make the mistakes I made. Like, if you're with someone that's being a bit possessive and you're just thinking, I'm not really going to end up with this person, leave them, because there's lots of boys at university. Just enjoy your university life, because it's not going to happen again. So that's my video on like my university experience and my tips and stuff. And like I said, I'm happy to make another video. If you guys have enough questions that you can put underneath this video, I will answer lots of questions if you want me to. And I'll see you guys in the next video.